to Dr Murphy, but relate to your period of time as our representative when you were CMO on AHPPC.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So as our representative of the AHPPC to the National Cabinet, did you provide advice to National Cabinet to implement a ban on the sale of firearms and ammunition sales as part of the coronavirus response?
Senator, I think one of the challenges we've had is that National Cabinet is Cabinet in confidence, and I'm not really at liberty to disclose any advice that I may or may not have provided to National Cabinet.
Was it a decision of National Cabinet to ban the sale of firearms and ammunition?
Again, I can't comment on the decisions of National Cabinet other than those that have been outlined by the Prime Minister in his statements. It's not.
Well, the PM's probably not my concern right now, but rather Victorian Police Minister Lisa Neville, the WA Labor State Government, the Queensland Labor State Government, and how ministers and public servants within those jurisdictions have portrayed National Cabinet, having that they did make a decision to implement a ban on the sale of firearms and ammunition.
As I said, I've taken advice from PMNC, and my advice is I can't comment on the decisions of National Cabinet other than those that have been publicly announced by the Prime Minister at the conclusion of National Cabinet. I'm sorry, Senator.
No, that's fine. I'll just so on the 31st of March, as I said, Victoria Police Minister Lisa Neville announced, and I quote, a decision of National Cabinet to put a temporary ban on the access to firearms at a press conference. An email was obtained by the Brisbane Times from Victoria Police's Licensing and Regulation Branch that wrote to all firearm dealers that detailed following, and I quote, a decision by National Cabinet, the Licensing and Regulation Division has been advised there'll be a suspension of all firearm transactions, including the sale, hire and loan of firearms and ammo for the reasons of sports or target shooting. And in mid-April, a staffer in Queensland's Police Minister's office, Mark Ryan, referred to, and again I quote, discussions in National Cabinet prompting chief health officers around Australia to implement bans on firearm and ammunition sales. So if you did not provide advice to National Cabinet to implement a ban on the sales of firearm and ammunition, how did this advice come to Cabinet? A process question, shall we say?
Well, all I would say is in general terms, National Cabinet made decisions on the basis sometimes of advice provided by HPPC, and made decisions also, they would on occasions make decisions on their own volition initiated by First Ministers, but I cannot comment one way or the other on that particular contention that a decision was made by National Cabinet. If the Prime Minister has not publicly reported on a National Cabinet decision, I am constrained from commenting in any way on the deliberations of National Cabinet.
So would I be better off going to the Chief Medical Officers by the jurisdictions of whose ministers?
You could see.
I'm just curious. I've had a bit of a run around from everyone in the last 2 days.
So the decisions, local decisions in jurisdictions to ban firearms, ultimately are decisions made by the state government.
That is true.
And they would.
But they're all saying it's a decision of National Cabinet.
They would be guided by their chief health officers, and I can't comment on their statements that it was a decision of National Cabinet.
So if it wasn't a National Cabinet decision...
I'm not saying it was or wasn't.
No, I know what you're saying. Has anything been done internally to hold these state Labor governments accountable for misrepresenting the decisions of National Cabinet? And subsequently the reputation of law-abiding firearm owners? Because it was, Senator Carr, I know that you're having a little giggle over there, but it was your police minister, it was your police minister that linked law-abiding firearm owners with increased domestic violence on the back of this decision.
What sort of joke are you trying to pull out?
I will happily communicate.
I'm sitting here quietly minding my own business.
No,
this is just ridiculous.
Having a big laugh over there in the corner at other people's expense.
Senator Mackenzie, please
again.
direct the question to the...
Dr Murphy.
You're in the wrong shop. Don't you understand that?
Order.
Senator
wrong
Carr,
shop.
I was advised to come to this shop
Well, yeah.
from
You were advised
Legal
wrongly.
and Cons last week.
Incorrect.
And I'm a
Wrong
senator,
place.
able
Senator
to ask
Carr,
questions
please.
wherever and whenever I
You've been
like.
told several times.
So, as we continue, Mr Murphy, is there any link between the transmission of coronavirus and firearm usage?
I don't believe that there is an established epidemiological
Yeah.
link between the transmission of coronavirus and firearm use, no.
Or the practice of recreational shooting, hunting, or
I don't believe so. I believe that the chief health officers in the states who may have supported bans were more worried about the access to firearms in conditions of lockdown and social lack of social cohesion. I think that I've heard that view expressed by some people.
Yes,
but
so have
I
I.
don't believe there's any evidence of transmission of the virus.
right. So there's no evidence of transmission of the virus, and you've come to my final question. Thank you. The reason that I've heard, and that's been publicly expressed, unfortunately, by said Minister, Senator Carr, is around a relationship between the increased propensity of domestic violence and law-abiding firearm ownership. Is that a piece of research or evidence or advice that was provided to National Cabinet?
I,
Or
again, cannot
the Health
comment on
Committee.
what did or didn't go to National Cabinet.
Well, okay, so
I have-
irrespective of whether it rocks up at National
Yeah.
Cabinet, irrespective of whether it's gone through the Health Committee, in your professional opinion, does such a piece of evidence exist?
I would have to.
Could you take
I'm
that on
not. I'm
notice?
not personally
No.
aware of evidence, but it's not an area that I'm expert in, and I would
Maybe you
have
could take that on
Yeah,
notice.
we
I'd
can certainly
appreciate
take that on notice. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.